So that shiny new game just came out, Lords of the Fallen, and you want to know if it's worth your time, right? Well, let's take a look at the game for some first impressions. You're greeted by an unskippable cutscene to begin with, showing some backstory. It's fairly interesting. A demon god, Adir, was exiled to another realm. Then the hallowed sentinels were created to watch for his return. Then Adir's demon armies start returning, and a new champion rises, the Dark Crusader. However, the Dark Crusader ends up dying, but before he died, he threw his lantern and asked Oris, presumably his god, to get the lantern to someone worthier. Then you get to customize your character, as well as its name. First, you pick your class, and there's 9 of them. Each have different stats and weapons. I'll show each class on screen briefly. Feel free to pause and read their stats if you want. I selected Condemned. It says to pick at your own risk, and I like a good risk. Also, it says it's a class for those who would rage at fate, and I enjoy that as well. Also, you can select female for any class by selecting the body type option on the bottom right. After picking your class, you can customize. Again, I'll show some brief options that you can do. After customizing, another scene happens. This time, it's a guy saying Oris led him to you, and he gave you the mark of the Dark Crusader. He leaves and tells you to find him later under a bridge. Now the game truly begins. However, this is also where my problems began. I'm on PC, and right away I was having performance issues. I'm using a 3080 Ti and a 5800X 3D. I tried 4K max settings to begin, and it was around 35 FPS. I did not see DLSS in the settings, so I tried FSR. This brought the FPS up, but the drops and stuttering were insane. Even swinging your weapon or hitting a wall would bring it down to the 20s. I tried all the way down to 1080p resolution with low settings, and the same drops happened. Then I realized this game should have DLSS, though I had no option for it in-game. So I exited the game and verified the game files on Steam. Then, when I loaded it back up, I had DLSS. Turning it on instantly fixed the stuttering and FPS issues that I had, swinging my weapon or hitting a wall with my weapon. Apparently, FSR just really sucks in comparison to DLSS in this title. I later realized what went wrong. I had manually changed the DLSS version to a newer one, but doing that completely removes DLSS from the game. So reverting to the version that comes with the game fixed that completely. This game is very reminiscent of Elden Ring in a lot of ways. At least it seems that way to me. Okay, so to begin with, you fight some monsters where you spawn. These creatures are pretty easy to kill, but even taking a single hit will bring you to almost half health. Now, when you bring up your menus, you can select equipment, inventory, character, and tints. Tints are just for coloring your armor. Character is where you can see your stats. Inventory, of course, shows all that you have on you. Equipment lets you select your weapons, armor, and quick access items. You can have one weapon in each hand, or you can just carry a single weapon. Also, there are 2 different stances that you can take, which also affects how you can use your weapons. Then you can select your hand on the bottom right. This allows you to use ranged weapons. I only have rocks right now. Also, on the bottom right is the umbral lamp. This is used a lot. By shining it in an area, you can see into the umbral. The lamp is also used to enter the umbral. With the lamp, you can soulflay enemies and also tear out their souls. And finally, you can siphon using the lamp to get more soulflay charges. The lamp is heavily used. A very important feature is the vestige. Here you can rest and recover and upgrade yourself with vigor. Also, this is where you respawn if you die. Also, if you die, you lose all the vigor that you had and will need to go back to where you died to pick it up. Sometimes enemies pick it up and you have to kill the enemy to get it back. However, if you die again before you get to your vigor, then it'll be lost for good. Also, one more thing about dying is when you die, you have 1 more life in the umbral. But if you die there, you're dead for good. There's more things to go over, but I'm gonna skip over a lot of them. Fighting enemies is fun. They do pretty big damage, but are generally weak. Hit and don't be hit, basically. I played most of my time with 4K DLSS on performance and a mixture of high, ultra, and medium settings. That proved to be fine until the first boss. Here I started having big drops again. I turned all settings to medium and it felt smoother, though I still had some drops during the boss fight. I kept dying to this boss, which sucked, but mostly I was trying to figure out how to stop the FPS loss during this battle. I stopped playing before I could figure out the correct settings for my setup, but regardless, this game was difficult to try to find the right settings for. I'll probably experiment with different resolutions and graphic settings later, and with DLSS on, of course, as FSR is dreadful. Also, I have one massive complaint. The cutscenes are not skippable, even if you've already seen it. For example, I quit the game several times while messing with settings, and had to watch the intro every single time. That got old fast. Same with the boss fight, you cannot skip the scene. Seeing as how I kept dying to that boss, that was also really annoying. I died to the boss about 7-ish times before I called it quits. The FPS drops and dying were just annoying me too much. I need to come back with a clearer mind to figure out what settings are best to use and to figure out the best technique to kill the boss. Also, I'm only just now realizing as I edit this, I never once tried the umbral lamp on the boss. Surely that would have helped me defeat it. Wow, now I want to go back and try that. Or maybe I'm bad because I picked a weak class that has buckets as weapons. Who knows, really. Anyways, once I died from the boss, I then got an option to summon a Wayfarer before the boss fight the next time. The Wayfarer does pretty low damage and has moderate health. It's a decent little distraction before it dies. The game does have performance issues. You'll likely want to really dial in your settings before you go too far. I still need to do this myself. The fighting is fun, everything is fun really, and hard also, as I feel like it should be. Gameplay wise, it's a very good Souls-like game that I really want to get back into so I can die a million times before I figure out the correct way to defeat an enemy. Whether or not this is your type of game, I'll see you on the next one.